Hi. I apologize for my tardiness. I will explain momentarily. I didn't get a thing to put that in. I'll be right back. We're starting late. We're just gonna throw out the intro format for a second. Was just about to get ready, and then the cat just and I don't know about you, but the idea of sitting here trying to do a show while there was a pile of cat vomit just I wouldn't have been able to focus. So I am slightly late because of cat vomit. All right, we'll call that good. 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Today is Monday, August 10th, 2020. My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup of coffee. Oh, that's warm. Oh, that's good. Just ground that. Good morning, Andrew. Just ground that coffee. Tasty, tasty, tasty. What a weekend. Great weekend. I hope, you know what? If your weekend was half as good as my weekend, you had a pretty good weekend. Saturday, put in close to 200 miles on the motorcycle, drove all around Vermont. The weather was perfect. There were a couple times where it started to rain, and I had checked out where the weather was, and so just turned north and got ahead of it. And stopped and had ice cream and lunch on the road. Oh, just an absolutely great day. Yesterday, slept in a little bit by like an hour. Got up at like 6:45. Comcast came and told me there's no problem with my internet. Yeah, that's why I've burned hours dealing with it with you guys. Worked around the house, cleaned up some stuff, started working on projects. I've got a whole hydroponic setup that I'm working on, getting going over there. Finished leveling it out yesterday, did some testing, and now I'm getting some seeds ready. Frank says, thank goodness Jeremy's here. Now all I have to do is figure out what my other 2 wishes will be. Thanks, Frank. Oh, that's a good one. Spent some time with some friends over the weekend. Went to the gym, ate some good food. Friday night did more of the same. You know, it was the weekend I needed. It was the weekend I needed. Last week was a tough week. No secret there. But you know what's come out of it? It's pretty important, and I'm realizing who my friends are. There are a lot of people I thought were my friends that clearly are not. And I can stop investing energy in them. I'm done caring about who these people are. What am I going to do with that time and that energy? Well, hopefully I'm going to meet some new people that actually are my friends. We'll go from there. Right, Kat? This morning, there was a deer in the backyard, and I can't be sure, but this deer, personality-wise, as much as you can tell from 50 feet away, reminded me of a fawn that I had in the backyard a couple years ago. In fact, Facebook just reminded me of this deer, of a short video I put up 2 years ago. And I think it might have been the same one, which is pretty cool. She had this way that she was moving her head and just something that I've not seen other deer in my yard do. What else is going on? What's going on today? Yeah, meetings and phone calls like all day. Somehow Monday turned into meeting day, which I'm not really thrilled about. Traveling Friday. I'll tell you more about that as we get later into the week. There is a chance the show will not be live. I don't know yet. I need to figure that out. Again, I'll tell you more about that later on. And yeah. Hoping to go to Taekwondo again. Hoping that I don't have an emotionally challenging day. And if I do, then I will go. Because that's martial arts is not an obligation. It is a choice. It is something I enjoy doing. I don't owe it to anybody other than myself. And it's important that I remember that. Now it's Monday, so that should mean that there's a show out. Let's find out. Should be an episode of Martial Arts Radio for all of you. What are we up to? Like episode 3000? That's a joke. I don't know that we'll get to episode 3000. I think we'll get to 1000. Who knows? Maybe we'll keep going. Oh, yeah. Great episode. Mr. Jason Brick. I talked about this one a little bit after I recorded it. What came out really well. Really enjoyed talking to this guy. And fun fact, was having a conversation with a friend who has been on the show, Mr. Richard Hubbard. And found out that they are also friends. I didn't know that. So we had this kind of circle thing going on. I got an email from Jason late last week saying, so I just found out you're friends with Richard Hubbard. It's a small world we live in. It's easy to forget that. So go check that out. YouTube, podcast feed, whistlekickmartialartsradio.com. All that. I don't have any interviews today. Tomorrow. Tomorrow's interview day. And what else? What else can I share? What else can I tell you about? I think that's it. I slept really well. You know, there's something about... I'll give you this a little bit, and then we'll move on. I have worked really hard over the last few months to make my bedroom as dark as possible. Here are a couple examples. I put up those pleated paper shades that you can bring up and down. They're cheap. I put those up behind blackout curtains. So I've got both on my bedroom windows. I started putting a Post-it over the clock, the alarm clock, so it diffuses the light. And so, because the cat comes in and sleeps on the bed, I can't shut the doors. Also, it would get really stuffy. It's a small room, and I tend to run pretty warm. So I bought a couple of cheap spring rods and had some curtains that go almost to the floor and hung those in the doorways. So you only have about this much between the floor and the curtain. So there's a little bit of airflow and the cat can come in and out. And I can definitely say the darker it gets in my room, the better I sleep. If you're someone who has a hard time falling asleep or staying asleep, or you wake up tired, figuring out how to make it darker, it's a good thing to consider. There's a lot of studies to show this. You could try a sleep mask. Honestly, I travel with a sleep mask. It took me a while to get used to them, but it helps. Think about how we evolved. There wasn't all this light around. We're used to it being dark. So, moving on. Let's see what you all wrote in. And if you want to write something in, remember, you can drop it below in the comments section and I will respond to it the next day. And it looks like today we've got, yep. Looks like today we've got some stuff for Frank. So thank you to Frank. And as always, thank you to Frank. If you subscribe to the audio in this show, it's because of Frank. I consider myself a decent athlete, but when I started to train martial arts like Kung Fu, I realized it had nothing to do with how athletic you are. It's all mental. It's what you know, how you use it, and your mental toughness and composure. It's incredible. Channing Tatum. Excuse me. There's a surprising source for a quote about martial arts. Most people think about Channing Tatum as being just an actor and someone who's known for being attractive and for taking some really strange movie roles that maybe are never going to earn him an Oscar. But some of those movies are kind of fun, and here we see someone probably learning martial arts for a role and finding out, hey, all this physical stuff I know how to do, it's not just that. And we all know that. Martial artists know that. I think the rest of the world would benefit knowing that. There's what? Why is your nose all wet? Why is your nose wet? Did you fall on your water dish? Her nose, like up to here, is soaked. I'll feed you after. I'm doing a show. Can't feed you right now. You'll be fine. If you have a cat, you'll understand. Saturday, I pet a couple goats, which was fun. I love goats. Goats are awesome. Yesterday, I pet a dog. Dogs are the best. And mixing it up, Frank's asking questions. Do you ever use your leftover coffee grounds in the garden? Yes. I compost a lot. In fact, so just to give you an idea, I generate every 2 weeks about 1 bag of trash. It's sometimes less. A good portion of that is cat litter. Most of the rest is plastic that comes off of like fish I buy at the store or later, stuff like that. You have a good day too. Andrew, thanks for joining us. Recycling, I have one of the trash company comes and gets my stuff in those big bins. That is almost always full from recycling. Compost, I've got a 5-gallon bucket in my kitchen, and I use that because those little ones, I was filling those sometimes in twice a day. It was just too much. Too much work walking out to the compost twice a day. It was annoying. That I fill, depending on what's going on, sometimes less than a week. And I've got a big, how big is it? It's probably 2.5 foot wide, one of those rotating spinny ones. I've got that. And that usually gets filled up, it breaks down, but it's usually full by spring. And then I use that in a garden bed. I've got really good raised beds because of the compost that I make. And I bring in other stuff. Coffee grounds are good. And this is part of why I moved from a French press to the tea strainer, which now is the pour over, because it's really easy to empty. I just have to take this thing and turn it over in the compost. So dump it out in the bucket. It's easy. It is efficient. If you can be anything, be efficient. It's a frequent line in the TV show Letterkenny, which is funny, and I just introduced it to I've introduced it to 2 friends in the last 3 weeks, and both of them laughed their butts off. Great show. To you, what separates a great martial artist from an average martial artist? Oh, such a challenging question. That is... All right. Bear with me on this. Martial arts is subjective. The quality of martial arts is subjective. When we talk about quality of martial arts, we can talk about a couple things. We can talk purely about the physical skills, or we can talk about the entirety of their journey. The two usually have some correlation, but they're not the same. You could take someone who's very athletic, who learns martial arts, who does well, and their outward expression of their skill, their forms, their fighting, etc., may be better, in fact will probably be better, than someone who starts with no athletic ability and, in fact, let's say, has some physical limitations. But what if you start to consider the entirety of what makes us martial artists? What if you consider the physical skill as well as what's going on internally? What if you consider that personal growth journey? I think you can see that. If you've been training a while, especially if you're an instructor and you've worked with hundreds of people, you can see that. You can see beyond the technique to who that person is. Now let's kind of unpack both. What makes them great? Great physical skill comes from, great physical skill comes from disciplined, intentional, appropriate practice, like any other physical skill. If I want to become a great woodworker, I don't just put it in, 30 minutes a week into it and, oh, look, I made a bookmark. It requires trial and error. It requires putting time in. And if you're unfamiliar with my definition of art is that in which the creator leaves part of their soul. If you've ever seen great art, something that really spoke to you, not great in the sense that somebody else told you it was great, but something that really clicked for you, you felt something. Where did that come from? It came from the artist feeling something when they created it. I have witnessed martial arts that did that for me. Usually forms, sometimes fighting. I have had a couple moments where I've performed in competition and I've felt that. And I've had other people tell me that they felt it too. I'm not calling myself great, but I'm saying that if we look at that as something that is valuable, I have experienced that. Now that's the physical stuff. What if we talk about the other stuff? What if we talk about that personal growth? What if we talk about being better through all the things that martial arts teaches us? What makes someone great? It's a suspension of ego. It's a surrender to the process. It's a willingness to cast aside everything that you have been to become the better version of who you are. It's personal growth. It is finding a way to be better than you were yesterday. It's that iteration every time you train, and a knowledge that it doesn't end. That no matter what's going on, what happens, who you are, where you are, how old you are, you can become better in some way than you were before. It is no secret over the last few years, my martial arts progress has been far more mental, philosophical than physical. I am not putting in the physical training time that I used to. That's a whole other conversation. I can regain those physical skills with some time. I'm confident in that. But the work that I've done on myself to become a better person, to have all these conversations with all these other martial artists, to become better at talking about martial arts, understanding martial arts as we're doing right now, that's been an important part of my growth as a human being, as a martial artist. What makes a martial artist great? They didn't stop. Whatever it is they were doing, they didn't stop. I think if you spend enough time training, whatever that means, I think you end up in the right direction. Sometimes you have to course correct. Sometimes, you gotta steer the ship. But you get there. I want to give a shout out to Team Smashy Smash for their virtual competition on Friday night. They did well. I don't remember numbers. If I remember correctly, Stacy said that Laura set a personal best on one of her breaks. And yeah, I believe that's what she told me. I don't remember. I apologize for not being confident in my memory. What else? I think that's it. I'm gonna go get my day started. I got a lot to do. Now I'll see you back here tomorrow at 6:30, bright and early. Leave me some questions, leave me some comments, some feedback, something to talk about. It's a better show when more of you contribute. Thanks as always to Frank for all that he does behind the scenes and for making sure I've always got something to talk about. And if you have time, go check out the episode of Martial Arts Radio with Mr. Jason Brick. And if you want to support the work that we do here at Whistlekick, a couple things you can do. Support the Patreon, patreon.com/whistlekick. Plenty of information over there. Or make a purchase at whistlekick.com using the code FIRSTCUP15. I hope you have a great day. That's all I've got for you today. Until next time, train hard? No, that's not what I say on this show. I'm tired. I will see you back here tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Peace.